Hello, guys. Welcome back to the channel. So, yeah, the Kathy Engelbert statement here, we gotta talk about it because this whole situation didn't just come out of nowhere. Every time there's another heated moment involving Alyssa Thomas, Phoenix Mercury, or anything around Caitlin Clark in the Indiana Fever, the league ends up in this position where a statement has to be released, whether they want it or not. And let's be real here. This latest statement from Kathy Engelbert only came after all the noise around Alyssa Thomas and the comments that followed. That's just the reality of how fast things move in the WNBA right now. Social media erupts, clips go viral, and then the league has to respond. So here's the statement Kathy Engelbert released. The WNBA vehemently condemns any and all forms of hate. The safety and well-being of everyone in our community is always the league's top priority. We are aware of Alyssa Thomas's comments, and what she and her teammates have experienced is completely unacceptable and not representative of the WNBA community. The league and our security team have been in contact with the Phoenix Mercury organization and remain committed to protecting all players. And yeah, that's the official message. Standard league language. Safety, security, protection, community. All of that. But the part that a lot of fans immediately notice is what's not being said, or who's not being directly centered in these conversations when things escalate around physicality, fouls, or controversy. And yeah, this is where the whole damn thing starts getting messy. Because from a fan perspective, it often feels like every situation gets framed in a way where one side is protected rhetorically and the other side is just left out of the conversation entirely. And people are like, what the actual hell is going on here? Now look, I want to be fair here. The Indiana Fever and Caitlin Clark, from what we can see publicly, don't really run to the league every time something happens, and that's important to understand. They've built their own internal structure around this, and that's not some bullshit excuse, that's just how they operate. Caitlin Clark has security. The Indiana Fever have security. There are layers of protection in place that go beyond just league-level oversight. And you better believe, in today's environment, every major star, especially someone like Caitlin Clark, has people monitoring social media, tracking threats, filtering noise, and trying like hell to minimize risk. So from that angle, it's not like they're just sitting around waiting for the league to step in. That's not how this shit works. But what becomes the conversation point is how the league responds publicly when incidents happen across the board. Because fans will point out a pattern, and whether you agree with it or not, that perception exists, and it doesn't just disappear because someone issues a polished statement. And that perception is that whenever there's a heated moment involving Caitlin Clark, or physical play, or controversy around her, the messaging quickly shifts into broader league safety statements rather than directly addressing the context of what happened on the court. And that's where people start debating fairness, consistency, and attention. And honestly, it turns into a damn shouting match online every single time. Now, we've seen this before in different situations. People bring up Dejanay Carrington and her public comments after heated games. People bring up Kennedy Carter and the hip check incident involving Caitlin Clark early in her career. People bring up Angel Reese and the emotional reactions that followed those moments. And every single time, there's a different narrative depending on who is speaking and what angle is being taken. And yeah, it gets messy as hell. Let's be very clear about one thing. WNBA games are physical. They always have been. That's not new. That's not some shocking bullshit revelation. But the level of attention now is different because Caitlin Clark brought a completely new spotlight to the league. And with that spotlight comes every single foul, every reaction, every clip, every slow motion breakdown, every social media argument blowing up like wildfire. Now, one of the big talking points that keeps coming up is the idea that Caitlin Clark is either being overly targeted or not properly protected by officiating and league messaging. And again, this is where fans split into completely different camps and it turns into a damn war online. Some people say it's just basketball, it's physical, rookies get tested. Others say the level of contact crosses a line more often than it should, and that's where incidents like Kennedy Carter's hip check or other hard fouls get replayed over and over again until the conversation is completely worn out and still somehow not resolved.
Then you add the emotional layer, reactions from players like Angel Reese celebrating certain moments, or Dejanay Carrington responding on social media after criticism directed at teammates or opponents. And suddenly, every single thing becomes part of a much bigger damn narrative that never really dies down. Now, Cathy Engelbert's statement sits on top of all of that, but fans are asking, is this just a general league statement, or does it actually reflect how situations are handled when they involve different players? Because the perception some fans have is that when certain players are involved, the messaging feels more reactive than preventative. And yeah, people are calling it out as inconsistent as hell. Now, I want to step back here and also talk about something important. The business side, because there was a time, not that long ago, when league insiders and marketing discussions suggested that Caitlin Clark's impact might be big, but not necessarily sustainable at the level it became. Some people expected early struggles. Some expected media hype to fade. Some expected her to be just another star rookie who would normalize after a few games. But that's not what happened, not even close. Even in her early stretch, those first 10 to 12 games, she had standout performances. Multiple 20-point games, high assist games, big defensive moments. She showed enough flashes that it became very clear this wasn't just hype. This was a legitimate, league-changing player. And then, as the season progressed, especially in mid-summer stretches like July and August, she elevated further and became one of the most talked-about players in the entire league. No bullshit, no exaggeration, just reality. Now, whether you call her the best player or not is irrelevant. The point is, the impact was immediate and massive, and that created a situation the league had not fully prepared for, not just on the court, but off. Media attention, ticket sales, jersey sales, broadcast ratings, everything shifted like a damn earthquake. And when that kind of shift happens quickly, institutions tend to struggle with messaging, expectations, and narrative control. And that's where a lot of these controversies get amplified. Now, another angle fans bring up is player safety versus perception, because you'll hear things like, why isn't there stronger protection? Or why are certain fouls not called consistently? And in response, the league usually emphasizes general safety language, like in Cathy Engelbert's statement, instead of naming specific situations in detail. That's standard for leagues, not just the WNBA. But in a high-attention environment like this, fans want more direct answers, not some broad damn statement that feels like it avoids the real issue. Now, let's talk about the media layer, because it also plays a huge role here. You've got commentators like Emmanuel Acho who have made broader points about how the league is evolving with Caitlin Clark's presence. Some agree with him, some don't, but he's part of the larger media ecosystem shaping the conversation. Then you've got commentators like Dan Dakich, who frequently make strong claims about internal team dynamics, coaching opinions, or league sentiment. Sometimes those claims are supported, sometimes they're disputed, but they always add fuel to the fire, sometimes way too much damn fuel. Then you have reporters like Scott Agnes, who are closer to team coverage and more focused on day-to-day reporting around the Indiana Fever. And within all of that, you've got former executives, analysts, fans, and players all reacting in real time like a chaotic storm. So when Cathy Engelbert puts out a statement, it enters an already overloaded information space. And honestly, that gets drowned in noise half the time. Now, let's address something else fans often talk about, the Indiana Fever specifically. From an organizational standpoint, they've taken security and structure seriously. That's been widely acknowledged. They've built systems around media handling, internal culture, and player support. Lynn Dunn has been a major figure in shaping that environment historically. Stephanie White, as head coach, also operates within that structure, focusing on team stability and on-court execution. So, from a pure organizational perspective, there's an argument that the Fever are one of the more structured environments in the league right now. But at the same time, fans still debate whether that structure translates to full protection in terms of narrative, media pressure, and league-level response. And that's where things get damn complicated. Now, here's where things get even more complicated, because every time there is an incident involving Caitlin Clark, whether it's a hard foul, a heated exchange, or social media backlash, it doesn't stay isolated. It explodes into a larger conversation about league direction, marketing, player relations, and even long-term growth. So some analysts bring up historical comparisons, like how other leagues handled breakout stars. And while those comparisons aren't perfect, they're used to explain how one player can flip an entire ecosystem upside down. Now, whether people believe the league is handling this perfectly, poorly, or somewhere in between depends entirely on perspective. But what is undeniable is this. The Caitlin Clark era has changed the visibility of the WNBA permanently. That's just facts. And with that change comes tension, real tension, between physical play and officiating, between media narratives and player reactions, between league statements and public perception, and between growth and growing pains. So when Cathy Engelbert releases a statement like the one we saw, it's not just about one incident, it's about managing all of that at once. And honestly, that's a damn impossible balancing act sometimes. All right, guys, I'll leave it there. Tell me what you think. Don't forget, like and subscribe.